Recently, I had the opportunity to chat with Bev Sanderson from the brand Melasma. I would consider Bev to be an expert in LED, so I picked her brain and asked her all of the questions that are kind of burning questions when it comes to LED, like what about LED and hyperpigmentation / melasma? What about LED and fat loss? How do we know how to dose LED? Who should have red light? Who should avoid near infrared? Or who should do the combo? What does it really do for our eyes? I learned a few things that I did not know, and I study LED all the time. So I really do hope that you enjoy this conversation. Leave some love down below for Bev in the comment section. I always think that that is really nice to do for our guests, and I will see you on the other side. First of all, could you give us like the 2-minute LED 101? What is LED and why would someone want to use it?
Sure, yeah. It's my favorite subject, why
I know,
not?
Right?
So red light, and when we talk about red light therapy, we are referring to red light and near infrared light, so we should probably clarify that. It's a biostimulator, so we have red light and near infrared light in sunlight, and it gives a protective effect against UV light. So it's really important part of sunlight, but we can have the benefits of red light and infrared light in our own homes without having the harmful effect of UV light, and that's why we want to use it at home as a home treatment. How does it help us? Well, in a nutshell, it drives collagen production, which is why we use it for skin rejuvenation. There's many more applications than that. We can use it for muscle recovery, we can use it for pain relief, but I think in our communities we're mostly concerned with skin rejuvenation. And how it works, it's really about increasing the amount of cellular energy. So it helps restore mitochondrial health, and mitochondria are the organelles in the cell which produce cellular energy. Now you can use that cellular energy for so many things, but most importantly, we want to drive cell proliferation, we want to drive protein synthesis, because collagen is a protein after all. So if we start by stimulating mitochondrial respiration, we get more ATP produced, and that then drives all cellular processes that we want to see that help with skin rejuvenation. So I think that's probably it in a nutshell.
Will LED therapy help treat my melasma / hyperpigmentation? Is there any way to anticipate whether LED near infrared will exacerbate hyperpigmentation? So basically,
Love it.
What's the deal with LED and hyperpigmentation / melasma?
Okay, this is a great question. And I am just about to publish a blog on treating melasma and hyperpigmentation. So this is a really interesting question. And actually, the more that I've delved into this, I really have gone down a rabbit hole with this one, the more I've learned and the more I'm excited to pass this on to you, because when we're working with red and near infrared light, the most important thing clearly is dosing. We need to get the dosing correct. But when it comes to treating melasma, it's more than that. It's about considering skin tone, skin type. So if we are treating fair skin, it's going to be a different protocol to treating darker skin tones. So let's have a look. We've got Fitzpatrick scale 1 to 6. 1 to 3 is fair skin, 4 to 6 is darkest skin tone. Is that fair to say, Pen?
It is fair to say.
Lovely. Okay, so we've got different types of melanin. In fair skins, we have pheomelanin, and that is only in the epidermis, so it's only in the top layer of the skin. That is relatively easy to treat with just red light, so we're talking 620 to 660 nanometers. Ideally, you'd actually leave near infrared light off the protocol. You don't need it because potentially that can lead to indirect heating. Remember, it's indirect heating of lower layers of the skin. You don't need to go there. If you're focused on treating your melasma, just work with red light, and that will increase skin, cell turnover and produce more collagen, and all of that will help to reduce your melasma. If we're working with darker skin tones, it's a completely different scenario, because the melasma reaches much deeper into the skin. It reaches into the dermis, as you're probably aware. So also we've got different melanin. We've got eumelanin. We've got a high concentration of eumelanin in the skin. And it's distributed differently. It's distributed more evenly in the skin. It's granular, it's larger melanin, and that would absorb a huge amount of energy density if you treated that with red light. That overstimulates the melanocytes and can trigger melasma. So when we're working with darker skin tones, we absolutely avoid red light, and we work with near infrared light only, because that then bypasses the epidermis, helps to treat melasma in the lower layers of the skin and reduce inflammation. So it's horses for courses. Now, the other thing that's come up is that it's really important to use a protocol with pulsed light. And we've seen this in some studies where with dark skin tones, they use pulse light at 30 hertz. The reason being that it gives longer for the skin to cool between pulses, because what we don't want is this overheating. So use pulse light. You use pulse light whether you're treating fair skins or darker skins, but with a darker skin, the slower the pulse, the better. So PENN.SMITH, for example, does red light only, so that would be perfect for fair skin, 100 hertz. For treating darker skins, the Pulse 40 panel is perfect because you can select near infrared only, and you can treat with 30 hertz or lower, 30, 20 or 10 hertz.
Okay, so we've talked about where you fall on the Fitzpatrick scale and whether or not you should use which version of light if you have any kind of concerns about melasma. If you remove the concern about melasma, then ultimately the best choice is to use red, near infrared together, pulsing.
100%.
So, okay. Because I do think it's important for people to differentiate. If you don't have any concerns about hyperpigmentation / melasma, then you do not need to use one or the, you can use the Goldilocks.
Absolutely.
Which is the two together pulsing.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is red light good for eye health, and should I wear goggles?
It's funny that you get the same questions as we get, to be fair. So our communities are united, aren't they? We'll say red and near infrared, to be fair, because I think it's important to include both. The answer is yes. In controlled doses, it's beneficial to eye health. There's some great studies actually by the University College of London that really support that red and near infrared are beneficial for eye health in terms of macular degeneration, so age-related macular degeneration. And that's, it's probably not surprising, because when you think about how red and infrared light works, it restores the health of mitochondria.
Right.
And of course, the retina is really energy dense, isn't it?
It's the most energy dense of anything in our body.
Exactly. So it is loaded with mitochondria. So if you've got a source that is going to repair the health of mitochondria, it's going to be beneficial. But everything in moderation. Of course. Everything in moderation. There are other studies that show that, I think these were done on near infrared, but that it helped with visual acuity. So, it was a small clinical trial that showed, when we go and have an eye test and we've got that lovely eye chart and we have to read all the little tiny letters and you're going trying to get the next line. They managed to treat these groups with near infrared light, and they found that they could read 2 additional lines on the chart. So it was pretty impressive. So it's looking good for macular degeneration, it's looking good for visual acuity, but with an abundance of caution, because whilst people ask me, can I use my LED mask to treat eye health? They're not optimized for eye health. Right. There is evidence to support that an LED mask would not be harmful to vision, but it's not optimized. For optimal eye health, you want, according to the UCL, you'd want a lower dose. 3 to 5 is what they say. 3 to 5 joules, and they're saying, short bursts of 2 to 3 minutes. Yes. So, it's a little longer than an LED mask would give you, but there is evidence to support that LED masks up to 50 milliwatts per centimetre squared are perfectly safe for eye health. So that's encouraging. If you were using a panel, then you absolutely should be wearing goggles.
Okay, this is another big one, and it is, can red light therapy cause fat loss in my skin?
This comes up a lot, doesn't it? And I know where it stems from. I mean, the categorical answer to that is you really do not need to be concerned about facial fat loss when using red light therapy. You absolutely do not. Where this comes from and I totally understand it, is because there is a lot of published data around the lipolytic activity of red light therapy for weight loss.
Yes.
So you could, put 2 and 2 together and make 5 and go, well, if I can lose weight from my belly, sure, I'm going to lose facial fat. If I use it, no, you're not.
Right.
The reason being that red light therapy, red and near-infrared light, restores the health of cells. So all the studies that you will see around photobiomodulation-driven fat loss, red light therapy for fat loss, have been performed on obese and diabetic individuals. If we look at the adipocytes, the fat cells in those individuals, we see 2 things. We see hyperplasia, so we see overproduction of fat cells, and we see hypertrophy, we see oversized cells. And these cells become dysfunctional, so they have insulin resistance. They are not healthy cells. Red light therapy can selectively target these cells and restore the health of these cells. Now, there is data that supports that when you treat these dysfunctional adipocytes with red light therapy, it restores the health of those cells and they do not lose further fat. So there is direct evidence to support that once the cell's healthy again, that's it, you're good. So, indirectly, it would not affect healthy tissue. There's also a wonderful in vivo study by Silva that uses it's 2 groups of mice. One that have been fed on a high-fat diet, another group, which is a control group, that have been fed on a low-fat diet. And when they're treated with red light therapy, what we see is that the high-fat diet group, they lose body weight and tissue mass. The control group, there is no change. That is categorical evidence.
Yeah.
When you treat healthy tissue, you don't lose fat.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that there's so much nuance around so many of these things that even sometimes people can become dehydrated from X, Y, and Z and feel like there's a volume loss, which they immediately attribute to fat. Okay. And so I think sometimes it's a perception too, as far as, and I'm not just talking about red light, I'm talking about anything. People will say, tretinoin causes fat loss. Well, it probably just dehydrated your skin and you think you have a little bit of volume loss. And so, but the actual science of what's going on shows no.
We haven't actually had anybody contact us and propose that they have lost fat, but they're just concerned because of what they may have read and they've made that association.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a fair concern.
Absolutely.
I understand from the community that, losing fat in your face is an absolute no-no, and you do not want that would be a deal breaker for using any modality or skincare. But red light unequivocally is not going to cause fat loss in your face.
Categorically.
All right. Tell me why somebody might want your LED mask and your chin to chest. What is different about it than anything else on the market?
Well, Melasma's proposition is all about pulse light. So we have the option to use, rather than just regular red light, we are using an intermittent burst of LED. And that gives us benefits. It actually outperforms regular red light. We've seen from many studies, there's a lot of data out there that shows when you use pulsed LED, you get accelerated cell proliferation. We get more of those cells that produce collagen. We get upregulated ATP production. We get more cellular energy to drive protein synthesis, so we get more collagen production. So that's why we use pulse light every time. So both our prana mask and our chin to chest, which together is the head to heart combo, is with pulse light as an option.
Let's back up and talk a little bit more about pulse light, because obviously this is something that is kind of a cornerstone to your devices. And initially you came out with pulsing on your panel first. So let's talk a little bit about, let's just back up and explain pulse light. It sounds so self-explanatory, obviously, but let's explain in general, literally what pulse light means, what it was on your panel. And then did you make any changes for the pulse light when it came to your mask, your wearable?
Yes, we did. Do Do you want me to summarize?
So explain pulse light for people so that they understand just the difference between continuous and pulsed, which I realize sounds self-explanatory, but let's just explain it anyway.
It's a really good question because it isn't necessarily, because we do get people contacting us with the prana mask and say my mask isn't pulsing.
Yes,
so I do think it's a really good question. So pulsing effectively means that the stimulus is on and then off.
Okay.
On and then off. So whether you see the pulse or not depends on the frequency of the pulse. So when you look at the data that's out there, you see pulse frequencies from 1 hertz all the way up to 1400 hertz. And across those studies, we see superior outcomes, a more therapeutic outcome with those pulses. But generally more skewed towards the lower end, the 1 to the 100 hertz. Now, even when you get to 100 hertz, it's invisible to the naked eye. So it is funny because, we obviously with the mask, we have used 100 hertz. The reason being that we've used that pulse is because realistically, you're not going to wear your goggles with a mask. You're not going to. So we didn't want there to be any distracting strobing effect. 100 hertz with the pulse not directed into the retina, which is the case with a mask, is totally safe for eyes. If you were sat in front of a panel, we felt that if we used 100 hertz in the panel, people wouldn't recognize it was pulsing. And so there would be the danger potentially that they would just sit in front of this panel not knowing that it's pulsing. Now I say danger. Pulse light is used to treat many conditions like Parkinson's, like Alzheimer's, but we're talking about sending messages to the brain. So you're getting into the realms of not just doing a skin treatment, but doing a brain treatment. And we know nothing about that, Penn. So, we're not going to go there. So we recommend that you wear, we don't want to send messages to the brain. So you have to wear goggles with your panel. If I left that at 100 hertz, you wouldn't know it was pulsing. So we have worked with visible pulsing. We've worked with the lower frequencies, which is 30, 20 and 10. Arguably, the prana mask is more beginner friendly if you're using pulse light, because you're not going to have that strobing effect. For me, I was introduced to the panel having used masks and panels before, so I just wanted to upgrade my red light therapy and start using pulse light. And I found that I adjusted to it fairly quickly. And you do adjust to it fairly quickly if you follow our protocol, which is just add 1 minute of pulse light on the end of your treatment and then up it to 3 minutes, and then eventually you'll be doing full 6 minutes with pulse light. Work in a well-lit room so you haven't got the differential. There's lots of little pointers that we give people that just get them started with pulse light. But yes, the Pulse 40 panel is probably second in line to the prana if you're just starting out with red light therapy.
You mentioned that there's 10 to 100. That's a pretty decent range.
Yes.
Is there a difference in efficacy? Should someone be set in front of the panel using 10 if they can work up to, or is it, is there a difference?
At the moment, it's too early to say. What I think is exciting is that there are protocols, specific protocols starting to emerge for different applications, like the melasma treatment for, melanin-rich skins, that say, actually, you should be using 30 hertz, perfect. And that's precisely why we put a number of frequencies in the panel to future-proof it, because this is bound to happen. Is there any difference at the moment between using 10 hertz and 100 hertz? No, there isn't. There isn't enough data to support that one is better than the other. So if you were starting out, I would suggest you use 100 hertz because it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable to use. But darker skinned individuals, we know that you want more cooling of the skin if you're treating melasma, so you want to go down that register to the lower frequencies.
So to reiterate here, in case it's not clear, the higher the number, the faster the pulse, so your eye doesn't recognize it. When it gets slower, you can see the pulses more. So that's why when we say work up to a 10, for example, that is such a lower frequency that you actually can register the the fact that it is pulsing. Is that
Absolutely,
accurate?
Absolutely. And just for a little bit of further information, 1 hertz actually is aligned with alpha brainwaves, which is why we don't use 1 hertz.
Right. And it's so interesting because that's a whole nother, which we aren't.
Science.
We are not brain doctors here.
No.
But there is some really interesting studies and interesting data on the way that you can affect, like depression and things like that.
There really is.
Really, really interesting stuff that is above our pay grade.
But we're in the beauty industry, so we're staying here for now.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about whether or not you should use LED on clean skin or if it's better to have a product. Obviously, I know you have a product range, and so we can discuss that as well. But scientifically speaking, what does the data say?
The data says, absolutely, you should do LED therapy on hydrated skin. Absolutely, hydrated skin reduces the refraction of the light, which gives you better light penetration. So absolutely, water-based serums, spritz, whatever, hydrated skin is best before you do LED.
Well, and that's interesting because I've had so many people talk about how they would do LED on clean skin, just, bare skin, and that at the end of, let's say, a 30-minute treatment time, this has been over the years, that they felt their skin was so tight and dry that they immediately wanted to put product on. And, back in the day, when I first started with LED in the treatment room, before there really were any masks or anything like that, it was clean, bare skin, and we would immediately afterwards try to rehydrate the skin.
Yes.
Because, of course, that entire time, in addition to not getting all the benefits, because the skin isn't hydrated well, you're experiencing transepidermal water loss. So you're sitting there becoming less hydrated. And so obviously I think it's twofold. You will feel more comfortable, you will get better benefits of the light, and you don't have to experience kind of that tight, dry feeling that you can get just by virtue of sitting with bare skin for 30 minutes or whatever, however long.
Yes.
So let's talk, since here we are, you have some new products out, and I would love for you to share, for you to share the new product that you have and why it is good to use with LED.
Am I allowed to grab my little serum?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think your community will already be familiar with our press serum, our Green Rooibos press serum, which has been the cornerstone really of our brand, since we've launched. It's our award-winning product. It's proven to work with LED therapy to amplify and accelerate those results. And we've got the data that shows that it increases skin elasticity, reduces wrinkles, and reduces erythema and pigmentation, more than doubles the effect than just using LED alone. But, we've heard from a small number within our community who want to use our serum, but they can't because they're sensitive to aloe vera. And our serum is formulated in a base of pure aloe vera gel. And it's 1% of the community is affected by this. They cannot use aloe vera. But it's amazing how many people we seem to have heard on that we want your serum, but we can't use it. Can you please produce an aloe vera free product? Not only that, and the other aspect I think stemmed from your community initially, because of course you've got so many, skincare fanatics who love to layer serums.
Yeah.
They will layer anti-aging serum after anti-aging serum. And if you're perhaps layering gel serums with water-based serums, possibly even oil-based serums, there's always that potential that you're going to get pilling.
For sure.
It's just that quantity of product and that combination of textures that you'll get that pilling effect, where the product does not absorb so well and it starts to rub off on your skin. Nobody wants that.
No.
So the answer to that is a water-based serum. So this Melasma Green Rooibos Serum Light is our answer to those two requests from our community combined with your community. Can we have an aloe-free product? Can we have a water-based product? So that's exactly what it is. It's the same beautiful hero ingredient, the Green Rooibos, which is a spalathine enriched to supercharge your LED therapy, but in a water-based serum that then just absorbs super effectively and would allow you to layer more serum should you wish to. The other thing I think you wanted to know was about protocol, whether there's an application time, because when we started talking about the press serum and we did our extended product tests, the protocol that we used was to put the serum on 15 minutes before the LED treatment. And that was really a conversation that I had with Andre Sommer. Do you think there would be a benefit in applying the serum a little bit before the LED, just to give it time to be absorbed by the skin? And he agreed with that. So that was the protocol that we went with for the extended product tests. And having gone with that, of course, that's the protocol we had to recommend.
Right.
Because that was proven to work. Now that we have moved very much into pulse light, we've talked about the effect of pulse light in the uptake of skincare ingredients. So if you're using pulse light, there is no longer a need. There is no longer a need to wait. You'd be using your pulse light to help it absorb the skincare. Right. So no wait required.
Very cool. On your website, you have a really beautiful before and after of someone's neck. And I would love to just discuss her protocol. And, because I think a lot of people are going to go, they're going to see that, and they're going to want to replicate that. And so tell us how that person did that.
Yes, we were absolutely delighted to hear from Pam. Pam is a paramedical esthetician, I believe is her title in the States. A lovely lady. And she has been using LED for some time. She introduced the serum, used it for 6 weeks, and was blown away by the results because she had plateaued with red light. She had stopped seeing an improvement, and she didn't believe that introducing something else would make a difference. But 6 weeks of use with the serum, she was blown away by her results and sent us those before and afters.
And just so, because I'm going to pop those up on the screen here, just so people have an idea, how old is Pam?
71, I believe.
Which is just really incredible. I think that speaks to, I get this a lot of under videos and in the Facebook group and stuff. People will say, is it too late for me to start? And
never.
No, never. I don't care if you're 85, it is never too late to take good care of your skin. And we always have the ability to regenerate, collagen and get a little bit of, I like to say, pat those fibroblasts on the butt and get them going. I just think that it's a really beautiful result on a real woman who is of the age of a lot of my audience, which I think is really super cool.
Yes, and we have more before and afters on our gallery and many mature ladies.
Yeah, which is
fantastic.
Awesome. It is wonderful. Bev, this has been so fantastic. I just want to say thank you again. You are a wealth of information, and be on the lookout because we are going to do a little bit more content together. We're going to have some content over on Instagram, and throughout this holiday season, essentially, I'm going to be picking Bev's brain. And if you have any more questions, please do leave them down below. We will do our best to answer them and maybe film another video. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed that discussion with Bev Sanderson. And if you have any additional questions, just leave them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. Either I will or Bev will answer those questions for you. I hope that you learned something new. I hope you are having the most fabulous day. And I will talk to you in my next skincare video. Take care.